Welcome back, everyone, to the DreamHack Open featuring Fortnite. We are taking a look at the semifinals games today. Just a few moments ago, we rounded off our semifinals for Europe there. Now we are going to be moving on to the North American East competition. Hundreds of thousands of players played yesterday, and now we have the top 500 competing to make it to the grand finals tomorrow. My name's Kelly Link. Joining me now, we have Bala, and it says Fallout and it says Monster Deface, but that's not your names. It's Bala and it's Shio Wager. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing?
I'm doing fantastic. We had a great day yesterday, but it's just going to get better and better from here. Tomorrow's going to be even better. I can't wait for some semifinals in NA East. There's a lot of interesting things that are going to unfold today.
Yeah, Shio, I really want to know what you're looking forward to in today, after especially watching the EU semifinals. Anything that got you hyped up?
I want to see how NA East handles the Shockwave launcher. I want to see how end games end up when it's a top 500 situation. It's always crazy when we're looking at North America. I just can't wait.
Yeah, hopefully, chat, you guys can't wait as well, but you're gonna have to, because in case you guys are just joining us right now, we're gonna be going over the tournament structure just to let you know what exactly is going down. Like I said just a few moments ago, we had hundreds of thousands of players sign up for our two heats that we had yesterday, one for Europe and one for North American East. Out of those two heats, the 250 players from each heat moved on to today, the semifinals, where 500 players are gonna be essentially doing the same thing that we saw yesterday. 10 matches, 3 hours, trying to collect the most amount of points they can through placements and eliminations. Obviously, from yesterday in Europe alone, we saw a lot of changes in today. Do you guys think it's going to be the same story for North American East?
Absolutely. I mean, we see it every single time. As you lower and narrow down this player pool, it's just going to get harder and harder, and people are going to change their play style up to match what the amount of players are and what these guys are doing as well, because it's Fortnite. There's 100 people. The behavior of the players actually influences everybody else. So we might even see more passivity in NA East like we're used to seeing pretty much every time when we compare the regions. It's just going to be really stacked. I expect 5th zone surges, but 100% 7th zone surges pretty much every game.
Shia, how are you feeling about the semifinals for North American East?
For me, it's just going to be harder to get momentum off for players. And I feel like in NA East, momentum is like the active word. You're not going to be able to get those big 30 bombs like Commandment had yesterday to start off his heat. If you're trying to come back, your lobbies will still be as hard as they would be if you were doing well. So playing in a top 500 situation, it's a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, and we just saw that difficulty in the European semifinals. So let's take a quick look at the replays that we have right there. Gentlemen, I hope you guys were able to watch these games because there were tons of highlights going on. Taking a quick look at Hardfind right here.
Of course we were. There were so many highlight plays throughout the day and so many good performances from different players. I mean, we saw, you know, Benji, we saw a couple of big names, but of course we talked to Refsguard, we talked to a couple of players at the top, and it's just a lot of fun the entire time. Tayson at the beginning continued his performance from day number 1 to continue forward on in semifinals. Anas as well was one of those guys who took advantage of that shockwave grenade launch that we saw a lot more. Shia, you alluded to that.
Yeah, for me, it's like even if you have the launcher or don't, you said Anas right there. There were people who had really good games, ended up winning, but then got taken out so very fast. I mean, Sebi's here with momentum at Caddy, but sometimes never saw him in other games. Savage, another big name, but wasn't really near the toppest of top spots at the end of the semifinals for Europe.
It's going to be really exciting. So many big names were shifting around. We saw a few players that were first and second yesterday in their heat. Lanouf and Lachey not move over into the grand finals. However, I believe Lachey is going to be competing in the North American semis, correct?
Yeah, he's one of the 22 European players who was double qualified for EU semis and NAE semis. So even though he didn't make it through the grand finals in EU, hopefully we'll see somebody get a qual on NA from EU. There's 22 who can do it, and I think that Monster and Fallout covered it pretty well. It's definitely possible.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. There's a lot of great players in there. One of those is from 100 Thieves. You know who it is. It's Cease. Let's see what he has to say about the game.
Hi, my name is Cease. I'm a professional Fortnite player for 100 Thieves, and I've been competing in Fortnite for about 2 years. I would describe myself as a very reactive player. When I need to be aggressive, I'll be aggressive. When I need to play smart and calm, I'll play smart and calm. I'm a very veteran player, so I've been playing for a long time and I've been through a lot of scenarios. So I really know how to like take each scenario to its fullest potential and make sure that I'm not overextending and making the wrong play. I think so far the tournament's great. Something on this scale that runs every month is amazing. It allows us to practice solos, which is going to be an everlasting tournament type. So there's going to be solos, 6 months down the line, and we're going to be able to practice this each month. So having something like this with this prize pool of like $250,000, it's kind of crazy. I had a great time yesterday and I'm looking forward to competing. I think who's most likely to win EU is probably Mr. Savage. He's just one of the best solo players in the world, if not the best. I think for NA, I have to, obviously I'm biased to put myself up there. I've improved a lot recently, and I think that I'm at a better state for solos than I've ever been before. And I think for West, I'm gonna have to say Arkham as well. I know those three are on 100 Thieves, but honestly, Arkham and Savage are two of the best solo players in the world. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Good luck in the tournaments, and I'll see you there.
Man, shout outs to Sace right there.
Yeah, that was awesome. A lot of insights. I do have to think that he was a little biased with the 100 Thieves pick. I actually thought you were going to say it was Mr. Savage we were talking to, but no, it was Cease. But he called it out aptly, I think, because, again, he's one of the players who's double qualified. He made it already to EU Grand Finals, and he already tweeted, he's like, on to NA. Like, this is what everybody's focused on. So, and Cease is obviously focused as well. He played insane yesterday. Shia, you casted a couple of the back-to-backs that he had, a second place and then 2 first place in a row, and then even later on in the tournament getting another first.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Cease and it comes to Endgame, if you just check out his YouTube channel, any video, he's popping off in every single event. And he said biased. I'm going to probably just say facts, because those are 3 of the kings of solos on each region in their prime right now. And they're playing so well. You can see it in both the heats and the semis, and hopefully the semis today for NA East, West next week. But it's cool to see Org's playing well with all players in solos.
Yeah, that's very true. You guys are talking about a few kings that we're going to be seeing. What other top players do you think we're going to see really shine today in the semifinals?
For me, I think everyone's eyes are on Commandment. Definitely had a huge game off early on, but I'm going to actually flip it over, go to the heat number 2. Vanish Jack, who's been so good at playing solos time and time again, so good at playing teamos as well with Acorn. And he just ends up coming up on top past the competition, holding out first from a top 5 spot. And I just feel like it's going to be his day today and tomorrow.
You know what, chat, I guys want to see what you have to think. Who do you think is going to get in the top 5, or who do you want to see in the top 5 for North American East? And Bala, I'm going to ask you the same question.
Cool, I can answer for Chad. They're probably going to say, Mongrel, show Mongrel. That's probably all they're going to do. No, I have a lot of thoughts about people who could do well. You called out Jock. For me, people who played into Heat 2 and had to clutch up, people like Unknown as well, who placed first in Heat 2. To me, that's a troubling performance for 2 of the guys who I'd expect to be at the top of Heat 1 or any open tournament, no matter how many people are playing. So that was a little surprising for me to see. There's other people like Scented in my mind, who is somebody who's been the most consistent. We say that about a lot of players, but I don't think there is a player more consistent than Scented over FNCS duos and all the time he spent in the East Coast that he actually just recently came back to.
There's also one last name that I think everyone remembers from the FNCS Solos Invitational, Zate. He came in kind of at the back of the heat. I'm guessing didn't have the right people in his call. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But I feel like he might have a few more tricks up his sleeve today and tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm seeing some love for Clicks, Fishy, Mongrel, and of course, yeah, mostly Clicks, actually. I'm quite surprised. We got a lot of love for Clicks in chat right now, guys, and you're going to continue that love and going on, because we are jumping into North American East games in just a moment. But don't go anywhere, because we have a quick break right now.
Give me to stand and shine. Different style, different vibe. Champion winner like Peps on mic. They should know I'm the next to strike. Told them this ain't a game, it's life. Only my team that I keep to my right. Tunnel vision and I'm seeing the light. Keep flying high when I'm up in the sky like kite. Know that I can't come down. Winning streaks so I can't lose now. Man have to achieve, can't help but believe. But still they wanna put me down, what's that all about? I don't listen to nobody's hype. I'm trying to move forward and make strides. They can all come with the talk, I'ma come with the action. I'm that type of guy. What it takes. I swear you don't need no handouts. Look at my face, you can see this plan's been mapped out. They know how I set pace, run them out, then I see them back out. I can't sit down as part of the normal crowd no more. No, I just came here to stand out. Them man are in the background, talk skills, waste skills, what they lack now. I can tell that they just wanna grasp clout. They ain't got no passion and that shows. Top striker, I just wanna smash goals. This is only beginning at tadpoles. I realise on a different one. What it takes. I swear you don't need no handouts. Look at my face, you can see this plan's been mapped out. They know how I set pace, run them out, then I see them back out. I can't sit down as part of the normal crowd no more. No, I just got what it takes. I swear you don't need no handouts. Look at my face, you can see this plan's been mapped out. They know how I set pace, run them out, then I see them back out. I can't sit down as part of the normal crowd no more. No, I just came here to stand out.
There's a lot of Fortnite to play today. We've got 3 hours locked in the next for the semifinals of NA East. I'm BallGW, joined by Shy Wager. We'll be taking you through the NA East cast and a lot of people to focus on today. For me, I saw a lot of people in the chat. Everybody was saying Clicks, but there's also some big names other than Clicks. There's Booga for the first time playing in a DreamHack situation, and he had to clutch up in Heat 2. A lot of people wondering if this is the redemption for Booga in solo, Shy.
I mean, there's Booga. He's always been doing well for a lot of the time, getting all the way to grand finals, having trouble there, but this time it was kind of a fumble up before that point. So is that troublesome? Is that worrisome? We'll find out today. Right behind him, who I believe tied with him, just under him is Stretch, who these guys have always been side by side, I think in placements over and over again with their trios, with their solos. I want to see how he brings things out with all these map changes, where he's going to be today for semifinals.
Yeah, and I'm just going to continue rolling through players right now because there are so many to focus on, so many to highlight. DeRoller and Miro, two of the controller players who came out of nowhere, are here today, and they're fighting for a top spot in the grand finals as well.
There's a controller King who now switched sides, unknown, all the way at the top spot. Used to have that big POI Slippery Swamps to operate off of. This time it's slightly less underwater, but not going to be able to push it as much as before.
And we are into the first game of this semifinals, and a lot also riding on the line of drop spots. Obviously, we're looking at the map right now, but specifically for me, I want to know every single person who lands at Caddy Corner, whether they're coming through or not, because that will give us some insight onto what's going to happen tomorrow in the grand finals. We obviously see a quick fight for Bizzle, landing in the center of the map. It's Jake who he takes out off spawn, and that's an important one too. It's Chaos though, as Stav is also fighting up on top of the Misty Meadows house. in a little pickaxe fight. He will be able to clean that up, but already 2 players down in quick fashion, at least that we've seen.
It's just a brawl on every single POI on the map. Every single house is just being fought for control. There's so many new ones now popping up since that water level went down. You're talking about the people at Caddy. These will be our potential raid bosses for this first match of NA East. Bizzle will be kind of a contender, a player 1 of sorts, who is still fighting people at his POI, going to be facing up against that shockwave launcher later in the game, but he has to get there first. He has to be able to win this fight.
Yeah, and I like what he does immediately. He's able to back off and build up. There's a crash pad in play, though, so that player will have 2 more of those and also a charged shotgun, but he has a shield on his side. I'm very surprised to see Bizzle being contested off spawn in the semifinals this early. Usually this is one of the players that gets things uncontested no matter what stage of the game he's in, because he goes for innovative low-key drop spots just like this.
I mean, that's the name of open competition. You have so many new players who might not be used to facing people like Bizzle or other top tier players at this spot. There are no scrims, there is no gatekeeping. It's all about qualifying, and then popping off Bizzle is not going to be here for the rest of game 1.
And I would love to know who this is. Unfortunately, we don't get the name, but that is a significant win off spawn. One of the better players, most consistent players in Fortnite history, but most recently, especially when thinking about DreamHack competitions, 2nd place at Anaheim. And right now he has to go straight into a second lobby. Hopefully that queue will be fast for him so he can start to regain. But of course, still 10 games for him to play.
We've been talking about mythic POIs the entire time today. Fortilla is one that has that big beam available with a little bit of juice beside it, an infinite chug jug, but I don't think this has been a spot ball that's been focused on too much compared to Caddy or the Authority.
No, I don't think so at all, and I think for decent reason. Although Ocean's chug jug can be useful, the burst AR also not as significant a weapon as the utility and the weaponry out of the other 2 spots. So the big thing about Fortilla is the vault, but even thinking about this area, there's a vault at Rickety Rig that's much easier to contest. You can actually even land in it if you so desired.
Big issue with Fortilla for some of these players today is that the map actually changed around here. There used to be a boat nearby Slurpee. A lot of these buildings were not actually available for people to even loot, farm, or stand off of. This is a fight we've never seen before, with moves that I've never seen out of Vert. Usually slow, cool, calm, collected. Right now, explosive, fearsome, and powerful. A nice quick scope taking out the opposition and just controlling a little bit more of this side of the map.
And remind me, I believe Vert is a West player and probably still playing on West. And that's another whole aspect of this semifinals that we haven't even talked about. West kind of doesn't get the love that necessarily they always are desiring. But today, they're going to be a big focus because there's players like Arkram on top of Vert who are playing right now. We get to see that replay again. What a shot from him. But to think about West, this is the only region they can really compete with in terms of ping at all, out of the DreamHacks that are going on right now. They get another chance next week, but East will also be infiltrating right back at them.
I mean, EU will be there too, hopefully, because I want to see every top tier player fighting. You mentioned, though, that maybe we haven't been talking about West, but they have definitely been on a rampage all over social media, making sure people know that, hey, I'm going to be landing on you. I'm going to be trying my best to cement a spot for myself. I'm not sure who might have taken out Bizzle. That could have been a West player too, who knows? But Vert will be the person who's so good at making decisions endgame, popping off this early in his journey in game 1.
And it's so interesting to have these peaks of Slurpee back. Typically, this fight does take a long time, but with the new environment, I don't think anybody really knows how these fights are going to take place, because this change was literally, like you said, this morning. Another snipe attempt. He will miss. A couple AR shots possible, but Blinky will start building. Although Blinky still, even though he can build in the water, might be stuck a little bit because there's no whirlpool available where it usually is. Regardless, Vert will not chase him down. I'm curious to see if there's any other players in the lobby of interest. Any other players in this lobby who have put themselves in a decent position going forward.
We need that caddy update. I want to know exactly how that spot's playing out. By now, the third parties have probably already arrived, and we are late. I'm all good for, being fashionably late to competition to see exactly what's going to be going down. But that shockwave launcher, every single game has been a threat. It's been silent in an inventory until the final zone, and then so influential. I'm wondering who will have it here for this game.
Also to think about what else is going on the map, but what else is going on in other games. We get those updates in the bottom left every once in a while with the picture-in-picture, but to think 500 players means there could be 5 lobbies going on at the same time, possibly even 6 as people end up falling in each of those individual 5 games. So there is a lot to be covered, a lot to keep track of. DreamHack's been doing a great job of keeping the tickers going with the people who win games, the point threshold updates as well. Blinky, who we saw Vert take a shot at, is in a little bit of a pickle right now as there's a player in front of him and a player down below. Zalify is very aggressive if you end up rubbing him the wrong way.
You're talking about the tickers on screen. There's a bunch of mental tickers these guys have in their brains about how they played yesterday. Blinky placing 220th in heat number 1. Not the best performance. He did kind of roll in, but now it's getting those thoughts. I just rolled in. Do I have to pop off a bit more? Do I play even harder? Right? That's where he's going to be coming from. We just saw him face off against Vert, who placed much better. Other players, too, who are similarly all the way near the top. Bad Sniper will be playing up in here in this heat, placing near 50th. So many different people with so many different mentalities from game to game.
Even people on the outskirts of the map. You can see the density of players all around the map. The spread, I guess I should say, not even density. Binky taking a couple of shots to earn his rotation path up to where we saw earlier in the game, the pickaxe battle unfolding at Misty Meadows. And he will be taking a good position. Zone, that first one revealed for everybody to start making their rotations to power positions in center zone and deciding whether they want to play edge or not. A lot of decisions to be made over time, but right now still everybody just comfortable looting. And you can notice, sure, we started with a lot of off-spawn fights because people are getting used to the open format in the semifinals and who's going to be dropping where. But as time goes on and as time progresses in NA East, you see, like Binky, disengaging from fights, only taking shots at range that are very safe. We are going to have this caddy corner update, or at least very nearby. It looks like it's all quiet. Honestly, a lot of henchmen even still up.
Kit must have spawned in the actual factory and then got taken care of. It might have just been a 2-man operation at caddy, because when it is contested, that gas station's taken over. We'll be tuning in here with a young Yino, who already got 1 elimination off spawn at a third-party spot, maybe the weather station, maybe somewhere on the mountain. But he'll be rolling in to see if anything's left for him, if there's any more loot. He's looking kind of good right now, both on mats and on inventory.
Saw Polarized with an elimination in the bottom left in another game. That's definitely somebody who has had great success over time recently. Another person, big 60 in the background. You have second zone reveal that stays over to the west side of the map past Misty Meadows, which gives Binky at least some priority on where he wants to base up in the second zone if he wants to base up. But I think still looking for shield. That's why he's going into every little shack. But with this amount of players up, we've only lost once since the last time I've talked about it. There's no loot available on the map at all. And everybody aware of what they need to do right now. Not take any damage, try to find any of that extra loot where it is, find the scraps if you can.
Stopping and choosing when to actually deal that damage is a huge decision to take too. Because if you choose wrong, that shield's taken out of your inventory. There's people stacking peppers. If you're in trouble, gotta use one to move out. That's a whole minute of speed you don't have in the end game. And now we're tuning into even bigger spots. We've been following the ocean, a few houses, small islands from here and there, but we're in Misty Meadows. No one's here right now, it's just Zalify. Binky will be right behind him or beside him.
Trying to see in the distance as well, other players are in this game. There's an entire map to explore, essentially. He'll go right back to where we saw him at first, but that path so far is slightly inefficient. Verga in the background also getting naded. Gotta be careful of that. I feel bad for Binky. I mean, we've been watching him a lot, and since he's on the screen, I might as well comment on him. He hasn't gotten any loot throughout all the entire path, the inefficient path too that he's taken. He hasn't found anything, and there's not been a single person since those early engagements that have fallen. I was not expecting to see Storm Surge in second zone, not even the notification. Sloth, though, will maybe get aggressive on Binky. Clearly looks like he just wants to farm, but he's out in the open and might be able to take some shots. I think Binky might even be looking for that right through the top of that.
This is the difference between out of zone gameplay and in zone, and I feel like this is a lot smarter.
You just saw on the bottom left there, it was Big 60 who has the shockwave launcher. He's in this game. I know it might say in another lobby, but that was a replay of this game because I saw him in the background. And that means that Big 60, one of the players who turned a lot of heads coming out of the console track in FNCS Duos and then playing in the FNCS Invitational on PC, ending up dominating in that fashion. Takes out Casker as well in the Elim feed. So that brings him up to 2, possibly even more out of caddy corners, but having that shockwave launcher and playing aggressively, he might be a player to watch in this game for sure.
You can see the clear difference between yesterday's heats and now these NA East semifinals. 70 players after that first zone kind of locks in, the second one also ending very soon. We're basically on point for where Surge would be.
And another Elim, by the way, for Big 60. Onto young Zeno. And he might be playing aggressive in the style that we saw in the FNCS Invitational. In the Invitational was Shark Loot. I know I haven't said the word shark in so long. We haven't talked about Sky in so long, but it was the grappler, which could be used in a very similar way as the shockwave launcher. So Big 60 having that could spell some trouble for people who run into him or are on his path or basing up in his path. You got to be careful with players like that in this lobby.
You got to choose properly when to use these items too, because as soon as you kind of show people that you have that infinite grappler, you have the shockwave launcher, it becomes a hunt. People need to get that item. They need to get it off of you. Right now, we're still tuning in with the story of Binky, who's having a lot of trouble getting not only past competitors, but even just getting to the zone, already caught in a box fight before the game even starts.
He's getting chased now because he's low HP. The shield was popped and cracked, so this player definitely going to get on the aggressive and maybe we'll be able to take him out. Binky not even able to get any height that he was trying to do, but he does back up at least enough to pop one mini. Another diagonal box should be another to get another instant reverse stare, and he's completely on the defensive. And he'll get beamed again. Now this is what you're talking about. A lot of players are going to be able to take shots in situations like this, and all he's doing right now is wasting materials.
If things are getting hot, he needs to just get even hotter. Pop those chilies, start to move fast, use that speed to make some distance. He doesn't get that done, gets taken out. You need to use your resources or you will lose your life.
And that was a great fight by Graham in that one. Because he got the beams, he got him off the crash pad and then continued to pressure. Didn't give him the space, even though he was trying his hardest to get away from it. But more importantly, he did not take any damage. Thankfully, he wins that fight. And now we're on to Serbs with one elimination. He's got the sniper in probably one of the best positions in zone, where we saw Bizzle fall earlier on in the map. This is pretty much a mid-map zone that we see quite often in competitive Fortnite.
All the mountains are in play. If the zone keeps just closing in and in more central, all these big bases, all these players won't have to move at all. They'll have the mats to be able to even put down more pressure than they already are with these sight lines for beams. I think about the time investment right now. Like, not much has been going on first game. There are people who already have a few eliminations box diving. This is the proper way to play when it comes to playing passive, playing for placement. You called it out in the pre-show. That's what NA East would be doing. But if a single mistake happens, if you overpeak just a little bit, If you don't see placement in the top 50, this is a huge waste of time for a lot of players.
Yeah, that it is. Speaking of waste of time, if you're falling right now, you're not getting any placement points. Yes, I know Vert got a couple of elims, but because of that, he ends up falling. And if I'm right, that's Big 60 on PC who falls to an unnamed player, which means that Shockwave Launcher trades hands, and right as zone closes too, so that's going to be available to pick up and definitely going to be in play as we go forward.
New villain in town for the lobby. Everyone knows his superpower, but no one knows who he is, not even us.
And already, we're getting some reports of the first game. Edgy wins one of his first games. I'd be interested to know how many eliminations he got, but that's a good start for Edgy. Sent his teammate, one of the players I called out. Maybe both of them will be dominating. Serb still trying to take shots. It almost connects through the spam, and it does, yes! Another nice snipe from Serbs. Perfect shots and perfect timing as a lot of players are pouncing directly on top as this fourth zone is starting to move, and as people are deciding, hey, I need to start taking fights as mats and materials start to run out.
And although he did gain a lot in terms of points, in terms of confidence after hitting that shot, look at what he lost. Position. He was so used to being the top dog of the lobby. He was in a top side base for so long, but now you mentioned it, Roscoe, Sauercry are already above him. There might be a third person going right over that ramp too. Yup, he's going for that base. There's always a risk and a reward when you're going for these types of eliminations, when you're trying to move to see slightly more for a few more shots.
And something that's not surprising at all for me in the semis is that fifth zone surge, but only 53 people. So it's just going to be notifications. We might see later on throughout the day a little bit more stacked where we'll get this activity. Vibes is getting into the zone. And I think every player out of all 53 right now is in, except for 1 and 2 right on the outside, but they're going to edge their way in as well. A ring of players has put themselves in good spots, but it's basically a nice spread all around the circle, which means there's going to be a lot of different rotation paths and probably easy rotations for everybody in the zone.
And that's one game out of 10. You talk about rotations within, you got to think about the mentality outside. We talked about Edgy winning that last game, and he won. This man came 60th overall. No stranger to winning, but he only had one win. I'm not sure if that was earlier on or later on in his games, but now he has the opportunity to just play off of that, have a more confidence, a little bit more advantage compared to everyone else. He'll be the leader for the leaderboard on NA East. Can he hold it though? And the West people bring it out heavy.
Another lobby coming in, Walkman with 7 elims. That means this lobby is most likely concluded as well. We'll get to see the end of it right now. I see Tayson in this game with the EU players, and then also Quinn, which I believe is the rich homie Quinn over on West Coast. Barely qualified in Heat 2 yesterday. I saw his tweets expressing a sensation of relief, and here we go, fifth zone. It's the rotate over this hill, and far away they've got to go. Crash pads being used and no launch pads over here, which means everybody's fending for themselves.
It's chaos in the air. People will clash. You have to fight for real estate. So many people alive. It's so different from what we saw yesterday. Very similar though to what we saw in EU. If you have a fast landing like Jaro, you get to have beams drop down. Can you make those beams eliminations though? Because having that 5-point boost is huge. Still, placement being handed out. Roscoe, we saw him near height. He gets 1 pick. And now we see these big complexes of builds being built. The K at the top of this one. Clarity G in this game as well. I haven't heard from him in such a long time, but glad to see that he still has a say in playing in NA East and repping for the entire region.
I think it was actually very close to where Stretch and Booga ended in Heat 2, qualifying through. If I'm not mistaken, I remember thinking that as well. 6 zone revealed is going down over towards the water of Misty Meadows, but also down the hill, maybe slightly over at the same time, but should edge around. So some interesting tactics on this rotation will be employed if people decide to go by foot. But don't forget, that shockwave launcher most likely in zone, and oh my goodness, the shots do not stop. Constant pressure on all sides, and Clarity G is one of those players who's stuck on the backside of this.
For me, the people I'm focusing on right now are Tayson. We have Moose, Sauerkraut, who was holding height and is still alive, moving around. Clarity's all the way back in zone, but the moving zones have started. People are starting to move both fast and slow, maybe not using launch pads like we saw before. Roscoe gets stopped down. Tayson is gonna be one of the first people to land near that zone, start to box up and shoot out. Can he find something or at least just stop the lobby from catching up? He already has one elimination here.
A couple good tags, and he does also stop some rotation options with breaking of that crash pad. He's got 2 more, and he will use that to complete his rotate into zone, and also a really nice layer. And only 1 box made, still 100 materials, so he should be able to at least outlast if nobody ends up pressuring him too much. On the top side, it's K-Drop, and I think I see the shockwave launcher. No, that was just a launch pad. Curious now who has that. I hear a charged shotgun on top, so it's potentially KJ Rop. Tayson, who you pointed out is one of the important players right now, is still rotating in another great crash pad ahead and still landing on mid ground.
It's a bounce house. Every single person from second height is just using that advantage, giving it up to get some position in the zone. Tayson, though, is still holding things. K-Drop is still there. Jaro with a huge shot off the top. Everyone is somehow surviving. We might see one of those 7 zone surges come through, but Tayson is definitely the hero of this lobby. Who is that arch nemesis, the shockwave launcher, who can stop him, though?
AJ Rop does not have the shockwave launcher up on height, so potentially that's out of play. Tayson with a nice peek box down below. And also KJ got a 1 elim. Everybody getting up towards the end of this game right now. We got 17 players remaining in the 7th zone as we move into 8th. Another nice peek box from Tayson as he repositions, and there's stink bombs as well in play. Potentially a couple of eliminations. Who's throwing those? It's tagging on Zalify and Roscoe, and there's now a brawl on low ground. Many people, as well as the nades from high ground, but they don't connect.
It's perfect shots from so many people, and utility you cannot avoid. This is such a mess if you're down near low, but K-Drop is staying up top. He got beamed though by someone overtaking. Tayson still staying low key and alive. Now everyone's starting to slow down, but down near the water, you cannot even miss a beat. Zalify, we saw him playing aggressively near the beginning, is still pushing the gas, not stopping whatsoever. I think he's out of mats possibly. Tayson's one of those people who are also out of mats, but gets a nice conversion, doesn't actually get it and picked up into his elimination count, but he has the possibility to play off that pressure. All these edits are his. Zalify actually ended up going down. At the moment, Jaro is finding someone up on height, and there's 3 people having a one-on-one near the water.
Height looks like he's out of materials too as he's edging his way forward ever so carefully. An RPG will cause every layer to come and become 1. They form. Tayson, no materials. He will get 1 before getting taken out. No, didn't convert on that one either. So unfortunately, he's down and out. And I don't believe we have any names now. There's the shockwave launcher, one of the no-name players. And with 64 points, he might be able to convert on this game. A couple more rockets to shoot at Sloth. He's stuck down below in the water. Time to heal, but he's not letting him at all. The build fight is on, and he's gonna go up with the tack against another tack as well. More materials for the player on height, the player with the shockwave launcher as well. He does finally lose it. Here it goes up to height, and will also maybe get it. No, the last build used a block. He breaks out quickly though, and the pressure is up, almost gets it through. Tack on tack, 50-50, and the shockwave launcher will lose to Jules' glider gun, which didn't have an effect at all, but well done to counter in the 1v1.
It's always a glider versus a shockwave that comes straight down. At this instance, though, you still need some health as well as rockets to be able to get big risky peaks with the launcher. Our no-name friend there did not have a chance, and at the same time, did not get a say in that win.
100%. We need some help trying to guide us through what we just saw. I believe Kelly is standing by to do just that.
I mean, I'm going to be able to guide you guys through the standings right now, but that last game for the last 10 minutes was insane. So many people alive. I know, Shayo, you were saying that you thought that there might have been a 7th zone surge, although we didn't see that. I mean, gosh, Shayo, just run me through that crazy last 5 minutes that we saw.
That game was just holding for just a little bit too long. I don't think anyone wanted to all in on anyone else whatsoever. Because of that, so many people ended up going down. We saw the stinks near the bottom as well. It was just desperation from all sides. But that's just the game. There's so many more going on right now. Near the top, we have a total points of 98 for Paper, who's in first place. Edgy, who also won a game, is right below him at 95. Hawkman, who also won a game, was tied with him. But this is where everyone is at the moment. Shockwave launcher or not, there are multiple games going on at once, and all of NA East is here to fight.
Bala, any names that stuck out to you there, or any players that you want to see in the next game?
Yeah, I saw Big 60 be very aggressive with the Shockwave launcher. Unfortunately, he fell, but that is a sign that he might be continuing to be aggressive. No giving up on the mythic POIs that he's been so successful with throughout all of FNCS duos in the console track. That could be exciting. It felt early. We still don't know. That's why I'm kind of looking off to my second monitor to try to figure out who it was that won that game. But I still think we got a lot of names to kind of go through, because again, 500 players and we only saw one slice of the pie.
Oh, without a doubt. We're only 30 minutes, 40 minutes into our 3-hour block where these 500 players are going to be competing for the most points to make it into the grand finals tomorrow. And we're going to get back into that action after this quick break.